Hello. Happy Wednesday? Question mark? Yeah, Wednesday. Cool. How's it going, y'all? Yeah, Nix, we're here admiring all your different Twitch chat badges. Loving that tin 3-month tin star, a 3-month badge. How's everyone doing? What are we doing? Woo! Thank you for beaming up. Beaming up to the mothership here. All right, so I did some stuff yesterday. Hold on, let me fix my camera. We're doing a chair stream today, and the amount of room for error I have with the green screen is very, very low. But we're just going to tolerate it. We're doing a chair stream. I just happen to be in the chair. Let's be clear. This is still mostly just a chair stream. You're clocking in for your shift in the engineering bay? All right. Yeah, chair stream. Yeah, I'm tired. I might have overdone it yesterday. Morning. A-smooth in a second. I think I ended up at midnight realizing that between my day job and Digital Iliad, I worked 16 hours yesterday. Which is a lot. Nix, what's a chair stream? The joke of a chair stream is when like the streamer like leaves to go do whatever, they go off screen and all that's left is an empty chair, and they don't go to like the be right back menu or anything like that. They just leave the empty chair up for like however long. That's a chair stream. My joke is that, you know, it's a chair stream if I bust out the chair. Normally I try to stand because it's good for me. It's like I can do my 3 hours of work doing game dev stuff and be standing up, but I'm just tired. So I'm gonna be lazy today. No, it was good. It was good. We're doing good work here. And the stuff I'm doing in my day job right now is really interesting. It's a lot of automation stuff. Not like AI, just like classic automation problems. So I did this last night. I worked out a tile map. Here, let me bring up my let me open up my what do I want to call it? My exhibits. Let's get all the exhibits out. What we were doing. Yeah, I guess we can look at that. No, this one's better. All right, I think this is enough. You love automating stuff? Yeah, me too. Me too. I've been getting my fingers into like more and more systems and finding really great automations. It's a wonder I don't spend all my time in Factorio. It's probably because I'm making a game. And that exhausts all of my energy that would normally go towards that isn't also consumed by work. But yeah, I'm all about that stuff. You're creating a mod for RimWorld due to sheer annoyance, Nix. All right, so tick up the mod count. One more. What are we at? 414? 413? Somewhere around there? I really need like a stream widget. I'll make like a number that just sits in the corner. All right. Hopefully this isn't like the most miserable thing to look at. Is it better with or without the background? I think the background helps. I'm going to turn it off anyway. Yeah, what is it going to do? That's a great question. Let me change our audio, our music. Someone played an accordion, so now we got to go to jail. I actually kind of like this. I'm going to leave this one. We'll change it after this. All right, so it's 11:10 Wednesday, August 13th, 2025. Restate my assumptions. No. I thought about doing that when I started the stream. I thought about doing like a pie style like intro. But that seems a little cheesy. But let's talk about what we've been doing. Let's try to take like maybe like a I want to do this thing where at the top of the stream I give a little bit of a bird's eye view. I do a little bit, I like run the game. We spend a second looking at like where we are. And then maybe we go into the task of the day here. Just for new people that are checking out the stream, they can see what we're working on. So if we look at the autotiler, it's looking good for, you know, the simple case, which is our weird little housing block thing that we just keep making. Overlays are overlaying, underlays are underlaying. Everything is good. Cutaways are cutting away. Rotation still doesn't work, but that's a simple matrix math problem that's just slightly too hard for me. But I'll fix it. We have our invalid block, which replaces our door whenever we place a door that's not right. So let's put some more walls up. Just for fun. But yeah, generally all is well in the kingdom. We've got a number of things that we're cooking on. Yesterday, we spent a lot of time... Oh, I didn't do these all the way up. I wanted to. Yesterday, we spent a lot of time talking about workflow, about art creation, about what we wanted to do and how we wanted to approach creating the art in a way that's like intuitive and easier and just nicer in general. Like, what do we do for quality of life there? So the main thing I want to address right now is we've got this invalid block, which is unique for us in that it's the first block that's like genuinely, each face is unique. It doesn't have like one face and then another face that's a mirror image of the first face. So that kind of changes the way we need to set up our tile atlases. So that's kind of what we were looking at. Oh, I put the door not in the spot that I wanted to. So yeah, so we have this invalid block, but it can really only be used for one purpose right now, which is door replacement. So if we like, yeah, if we like try to turn this triple door into a quad door, they all swap to invalid. But like you'll notice the outlines don't go away. Like we're not auto tiling this the way we're auto tiling everything else. It's like individual tiles being placed. And so that's kind of the main thing we're trying to address. And that kind of catalyzed this discussion about like, you know, how can we make the art easier to make and better? Like what's going to be our workflow? And so we spent a lot of time on that yesterday about like, and maybe I spent a little bit of time on it like over the weekend trying to figure out what I wanted to do with that. Tried a bunch of different stuff out. We tried out, I tried out this silly system where I would set bit flags, encode bit flags into a single image like this that would describe where the outlines are. Kind of in this way of chasing. What I wanted to do was not do what we're currently doing, which here's like our current tile. Okay, now the music has gone too far. I feel like I'm a villain describing my plan. All right, here we go. How's everyone doing this week so far? We're like somehow already like halfway there. Anyway, this is what we kind of use nowadays. Not for the what I call this checkerboard, but like this is how we do this for normal blocks. Here's like the full wall. Here's like the half wall. We kind of overdo this to try to handle, like, you'll notice a lot of duplicates. Actually, not as many as I think you could have. There's a flaw with the way that we have this set up, which I will talk about. So in addition to the problem of these are only X faces, we don't actually draw out the Y faces because all we're really doing with these currently is using an alternative tile that's flipped horizontally. And that's how we're getting all of our Y faces for the tiles. Nix, if I'm understanding what you're writing, you're making a mod to like fix other mods, or is this a problem with like the core game that you're trying to fix with a mod? Yeah, you're trying to. It's something to do with harmony, right? So you're trying to mediate some interactions between different mods. That's interesting. That sounds like a pain in the butt. I am glad there are like certain mods that almost act as libraries between the different mods and provide like common functionality, things like harmony. And I think there's a couple others. I'm not super familiar, but that's really interesting to me, that kind of aspect of a mod ecosystem where you have mods who just exist to facilitate other mods. Yeah, basically. Okay. Yeah, that's quite a rabbit hole. Anyway, we thought about using this channel thing with like bit flags and stuff. It's like, that's cool. Because then we could have some kind of intermediate build step that like takes this and like builds out the outline list or the tile atlas that consists of all the outline. We also thought about like, maybe it would be better if we laid things out in terms of like layers. So we could be like, here's one section that you can sample for part of the border. Here's another section. And you would just sample depending on which outlines were relevant. This sort of thing would work best with like a shader, which we might still do someday. And there's one more problem. So this tile atlas is already quote unquote big. It has duplicates, which isn't fun. It has a critical flaw, which is it's based on the no dots arrangement. These aren't terms. These aren't real things. This is just how I describe the problem. For our auto tiling, we have like this dots versus no dots coverage problem for like literal corner cases. I should have called it literal corner cases or something like that. Like, which is that if you have a no dots outline, which is like all of these, where the dots just refer to corners, so you just have solid sides. Like this. Like you either have the side is either highlighted or is either outlined or it's not. That's it. That leads to a coverage problem that's like best illustrated here, which is like this one looks fine, but technically there is a pixel missing, like right there. Here you can very obviously see that a pixel is missing because this tile has an open bottom. So it doesn't have its outline, but that's a critical problem because it's a corner case, meaning there's an outline here. So what you need to do to fix that is you need to add, this doesn't even cover all the options, but this is like the same list over here pretty much. Just with dots. Why don't I have the basic case over here? Kind of weird. There we go. So this imagines little corner dots on every corner to cover those corner cases. Obviously, we'd also need iterations without the dots. And that provides you the correct coverage when you've got all of these different cases. So here's like all the different cases that could arise. You can kind of see where the corner dots are because they appear here. So you need this corner dot to cover any of those cases, but you also need the corner dots to potentially go away. Like if you have this case You just want a totally non-outlined tile in the middle there. So we need the dots. This doesn't have the dots, so we need to be able to add the dots. That adds a lot of complexity because right now I'm capturing the dots here in the corners. So, all right, whatever. I think I've caught us up on like our constraints. So what I'm doing now, what I did last night, is I said, you know, I think I'm approaching this problem the wrong way. I've been thinking about how do I create these how do I make a workflow that makes it easy for me to create these art assets into some simple initial step and then have some kind of process for like automating the conversion to like the big full tile map that we actually need to use, or tile atlas, where we actually enumerate all of these combinatorics, all of the differences, the different arrangements we can have. Hey, Chris Knife. This feels a lot like the connected textures feature from some Minecraft mods. Oh, okay, cool. Well, anyway, the decision also, what's up, Chris? The thing I decided to do is that I've decided I'm approaching this problem from the wrong direction. The way I thought about this problem for the last week or so was I was like, how do I make it nicer to make the art and easier to make the art? And I think that's a little more luxurious than what we have time or the attention for. So I switched directions. I started to approach the problem from the other direction. So because we need this dots, quote unquote dots representation, we need to cover the corner cases in these tile atlases. Unless we switch to using a shader per tile, which I don't really want to do, because we already have a pretty slick system for sending the tile map data over. That's really easy to unwrap. It gets pinned and then it gets sent over and then gets unwrapped. It's all very nice. I don't really want to mess around with that. We're passing in other textures that are like inputs to the shader that represent like outline bit flag states and stuff like that. I don't really want to mess around with any of that right now. So I changed my mind and I just made a new tile atlas by hand, manually. I tried to improve on this. This is laid out very poorly, but it's generally like repeating itself in such a way. It's got duplicates, so it's not very sensitive to that. So it's densely packed. And the reason I do it this way is because when we go through the autotiler basically picks the state. It checks different conditions and increments the atlas coordinates X and Y by 1 or 2 or whatever. So it shifts around. So it'll be like, okay, the right side is missing. So we can take the outline out of the right side. Oh, but you know, some other whatever, blah, blah, blah case. We need to also hide this outline, or we need to also hide this other outline. So it might go X plus 1, Y plus 2. And so we end up here. We end up some combination of the two. And it's like, okay, this is the one that we're going to actually use. Simple stuff, right? It's annoying that there are duplicates here, but it is densely packed, and it does have like total coverage for whatever weird combination of X and Y additions we can do. But it's still pretty annoying, so this is what I made. This is a really long prelude to the reveal of the horrible thing that I made last night, which is this. This is bad, but it's got all the dots. It covers all the corner cases. It's 169 unique tiles. I used the same layout as it would be for this one. So it's laid out the same way in this grid. It's laid out in the dense grid, so these are the so you could only get to this tile, for example, if the auto tiler was like, okay, X plus 1, Y plus 2, we're here. So that's what I did. So it's laid out in a dense, it's laid out as the auto tiler would index into them. but I've removed all the non-unique tiles because if there's no reason to draw them, there's no reason to include them here. I could include them out of laziness, but now we're talking about like, you know, I'm still thinking about how do I make the art less, you know, awful. So we've got this really weird arrangement. I can leave it like this for now because whatever, it's still, this whole thing's a 1024 by 1024 texture. That's not a big deal, you know, in the scheme of things. It's a giant Sierpinski triangle. It might be, actually. I didn't think about that. Yeah, so what's nice is that it does collapse down into a square grid, which this is hard to read. It collapses down into a 13 by 13 grid, which like is awkward in one way, but in another way, that's kind of awesome. So all of these can just be packed in. So this is almost going to become, I think this will become like the sparse representation. Like we're going to build a dictionary with these coordinates as the keys. And then that dictionary will point from these coordinates to the actual coordinates on like on the dense grid. So we'll just have a sparse table to dense table lookup kind of thing. Kind of like what we do with like entity IDs and stuff. It's like not a big deal. And that'll be fine, I think. This captures all the crazy cases. Like if I hide the interior, you can see all the dots. I drew it like this last night with like a grid on. I was just staring at this. It became so hard to understand what I was looking at a certain point. I'm like, okay, time to get rid of all the upper right dots and to get rid of all the tiles that don't have upper right dots or whatever. Like I'm just like, So yeah, my brain was melted yesterday already, and then I started doing this, and that was fun. But we got there. This outlines thing, this outline can work for any square block. So this covers any square block. We can just add in different textures. We could still eventually have a cool build step that like builds these out from some other intermediate data that's easier for us to draw out, but like I don't care about that right now. I realized I just need the content. I just need to get it in there. So we'll keep working on this. You're still working on your AI voice stuff, Nix. It's interesting. I would never think to have like a Jarvis or something like that, but that'd be kind of fun. Yeah, that's funny. All right, so yeah, I think it's gonna be kind of a quiet day. I think we're gonna keep working on this. Is this checkerboard pattern like a horrible nightmare for anyone else to look at? I might swap out the interior texture. Actually, no, I have to do it. So here's the other problem. So there's twofold improvements over, you know, the old Atlas here, right? One is non-unique tiles have been eliminated. Oh, there's 3 improvements. Non-unique tiles have been eliminated. The dots that we need to have proper coverage when we're overlaying things also included. And third thing is we will actually have to draw out Y-facing tiles. Because here, we only do the X-facing tiles and the Z-facing tiles. I'm going to try to avoid duplicating these two. Unnecessarily, at least. So yeah, we're going to kind of just work on this, I think. right, so making the Y face of this is going to be kind of annoying. Because I think the way that we have this structured is it's just a mirror. So I can't mirror the whole thing. I have to mirror each individual tile. But that only gets me the outlines. The interior actually is straight up different. So I think this is how we're going to do it here. We're going to copy everything. So copy everything over. I don't really need to copy it in this form. I could potentially copy it in the denser form, but I haven't figured out what I want that, or I haven't mapped that yet. So I don't exactly want to do that right now. So yeah, this might be a bit of kind of a mindless art stream. And not even like a fun, not a fun art stream either. We're not like drawing fun stuff. I might banish this this texture, this checkerboard texture for now. I might make a gray interior one. I want to duplicate this layer. I'm gonna call this interior gray or something, or I'm gonna make a solid version of this that's less painful to look at. We can still have it be purple though. I just need to not. I actually don't know exactly which colors this matches to. So that's that. This is probably this one. There we go. This is easier to look at. I was having a hard time. How'd your inventory stuff work out last night? Chris Knife. All right, so what we need to do, here's the fun part of this. We have to just shift these. I'll put my keyboard in a position where this is easy to do. Oh, we have to do it. We can do this different ways. We got to do the interior. Oh, you know what's not fun? Trying to shift multiple layers. Let me see if I can actually do this. Okay, so I'm gonna have to go through and do all of them. Or wait, did it do it? I think it might have. The thing is, I think this is wrong. Yeah, it is. So actually, this interior section needs to just go. I'm gonna need to copy this over later. Turn this one on. Chris, it worked out well so far. Thanks to everyone helping you, Rubber Duck. You figured out where to pickle your inventory data. Yeah, it's not a question of whether to apply the pickler. It's just a question of where, right? All right, I'm having a harder time with this. Here we go. So yeah, I have to do this, and then we have to Shift H a couple times here. Oh, hold on. Anyone else working on anything? There's been some great stuff getting shared in the Discord. All right, so what I'm going to do here, which is going to be annoying, is I'm going to continue to flip these one at a time. I'm not sure I understand what's happening when I try to flip 2 layers at the same time. It's like it does it, but it takes a second to show. Ah, that's what's happening. Okay. Weird. So I'm just going to go through all these and presume that it's working. Oh, come on. Oh, I can't actually do this 2 at a time easily. I love this. They're all getting flipped, but like in place. I'm gonna actually get rid of this solid color thing then here. So it's actually, that's just doubling the amount of work I need to do for no good reason. It'll just be hard to see. So we'll do the outlines first and then we'll do the interiors. Chris? Also, do you pickle the object or the data within? Oh. Pickler automatically allocates new objects, which is bad if you already have an inventory object whose signals are already connected. Huh. Yeah, that sounds kind of annoying. I've like flipped my keyboard. I flipped the right section of my keyboard 90 degrees and I'm like holding it with my left hand so I can just shift H with one hand. It's annoying. What the hell? What command was that even? It's like shift everything to the right some amount and zoom out. But yeah, I'm pumped to work on this game. I've been talking to more people about our little idea for a little idle desktop companion showcase that's like an early showcase of like the simulation layer. Almost like as a little vertical slice that doesn't need all the gameplay to be in place. I'm really excited to that. Codename Lo-Fi Flyby. I think it'd be really cool. I think it'll give us a good use for our art. I think it would give us a good test of all the automated systems like pathfinding and simulation and scripting and all the different stuff. Give me an excuse to make music, start to establish the like tonal character of the game, at least from an ambient standpoint. Really great. All because of Ropika's Idle Island. Such a cute little game. Really inspired me to do this stuff. This must be just absolute gibberish to anyone watching me doing this. It's like, yeah, we're flipping these obscure signs one at a time. Let's generate the opposite face here. Oh, didn't need to do that. There's nothing there. Didn't need to do that. There's nothing there. Okay, yeah. Now it's becoming a bit of a problem. Now it's actually kind of hard to tell where the tiles actually are. I've got it. You know what I should do? I should turn the grid on. That would at least help. There we go. Now I have some idea of what I'm doing. Like, did I already flip this tile? I don't know. I think I did. Yeah, I did. Oh, well, we'll do this real quick, and then we'll make the opposite tile face for the solid bit. Yeah, this is what I was doing last night, like sleep deprived. I was like so confused, staring at these almost like little dot constellations. Vidjavini, hey, how's it going? What's up? Welcome in. We're working on a tile atlas for our isometric 3D FTL-like. How's it going? Hey, Symbol, what's up? What have you been doing? Did you participate in a solo jam? I know you host it, but I know from doing events in the past that hosting an event is very different than participating in an event. You know what I mean? You just got home from getting your mom from the airport? Oh, well, I'm glad they got back from wherever they were going. Okay. Nice morning trip to the airport. I know. It's Symbol. We are blessed to be in their presence. You got your mod working, Nix? Hell yes. But yeah, we're doing this weird thing. I need to remember my place. We're making this weird, I'm using the like source engine, like invalid, missing texture thing to make like an invalid block that we can substitute in to the autotiler whenever it can't find the actual block. And I ended up, let's ignore why we're doing it this way for now, but we're basically creating the sparse map of the different autotiler combinations before we compress it and write a dictionary that converts from a sparse map of these to the dense map to save on texture space, you know? All right, so did I already do this one? I think I did. Yeah, I did. We're doing the outlines first, and then we're going to go back and do the solid texture. So we're finishing up this process. It's a little hard to understand. But yeah, I hope everyone's doing well. Happy Wednesday. Kind of stuff. Your work weekends, no jams at the moment. I'm sorry to hear that. I think I'll be doing Down to Jam. Might actually be my only jam this year that I actually finish. Which is, you know, bold thing to say ahead of time. We're having to flip each individual cell in place because we're doing the Y faces. We can't flip all of them. We just have to flip each individual one because of the way autotiler maps these. I could have written it the other way, but, you know, whatever. It made sense at the time. All right. Outline's done. So now we need to just grab the other version of the texture, which is here. Vidya, what's your take on tile flipping at runtime, i.e. based on tiles index column, blah, process flips it? Yeah, I mean, you could do that anywhere, and that's actually a thing that we struggled with. The old way we did these here, I don't know, you probably haven't seen this, but just a quick demo, just so you can understand kind of how our autotiler works so that my answer makes any amount of sense. So It's a 3D game in 2D tiles. We have a tile map for each face. So like the X face, the Y face, the Z face, each has its own tile map just to handle the combinatorics, because otherwise it gets crazy. So we can make this block. You can see the autotiler will, like, any homogeneous surface will have its outlines taken away. Thank you. So we can hollow this out kind of like CSG style. We have a flood fill system that figures out where the rooms are. We have a cutaway system that like makes it so we can see them. But the way we're doing this on the back end here is with a lot of tile maps. So each vertical layer, each vertical level, so each Z level has its own set of tile map layers. And then each facing tile, like Y, Z, X, Z, of each kind of object, so a floor or a wall or a door, each has their own tile map layers. So we're doing a lot. However, we're not doing this with shaders or anything. We're doing this by just like changing the source ID, the atlas coords, and the alt tile ID. So we're changing a lot of stuff about the tile, but we're just doing it straight in the tile map data. We're actually building our own tile underscore map underscore data object and sending it over as is. So we're not doing the like, we're not doing it in the GD script. We're doing it over here in our simulation layer. This is a lot of context that has nothing to do with your question really, but laying it down. Does it generate a nav mesh too? It doesn't do any kind of nav mesh stuff because it's purely grid based. So we're gonna end up probably doing the pathfinding ourselves in like Sprite. So here's like our tile maps. So this is like a tile set. It's got a bunch of different kinds of tiles. So all the tonal stuff is handled with source IDs as well as the different object types. So if we say like wall sides here, how we're handling this right now is we only draw out the combinations of the X faces, and then we generate the Y faces just using an alternative tile, so just a simple flip H. So here's the answer to your actual question. We do the flip H in the tile set, and then just designate it as an alternative tile. So that's how we flip tiles at runtime. We don't. We don't flip tiles at runtime. This is nice and easy. The reason why we're doing this other thing now is we can't do that anymore, because you'll notice that everything I have is like flat shaded right now. Our invalid block is not. Our invalid block is not flat shaded, and it actually isn't a mirror image. So you'll notice the checkerboard pattern is offset. So we're drawing out this. We're addressing a number of problems with our tile atlas right now, but that's one of them. Is we actually need to draw out the flip H version of it because they're unique. Oh man, I lost my clipboard selection here. Oh sorry. I'm using the royal we. That includes you. That includes chat. We're all in this together. But not in a way that confers any liabilities or benefits on either of us. Just in a spiritual sense, we're all in this journey together. Nix, nav meshes. Yeah, by we, you mean Dave. Yeah, I'm Dave. That's it. This is a game by Dave. For Dave. So help me, Dave. Nix. Does Godot handle that by default? Oh, okay. Nix is explaining it. Nix is explaining the parasitic relationships at work here. Pre-computed data is cheap. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We actually, before this, were working on, like, we were thinking about making a kind of tile atlas builder that handles this sort of thing for us. Or we were thinking about using shaders to just do it at runtime by doing crazy things like encoding outline data as like bit flags in like and bit flag combinations and like in like a kind of mapping, and then generating out things like, so if you had something like this, you could then just provide this, and then you could have a system that generates this outline rigging, right? This outline stuff. But we're just doing it by hand right now. Will you be implementing that 60s sci-fi film grain on the screen like that background? I want to. I'm actually thinking that there is going to be very little texturing. I've actually been watching a lot of 70s and 60s sci-fi each weekend, and I'm like, I've started this routine where I'm like, I get my tablet out and I sit down at the couch for a couple hours and I like just draw stuff and I just watch old sci-fi because it's perfect for this game because our resolution is so low that we really can't achieve any detail, any meaningful detail for like texturing, smooth, like pretty much if I have a pixel somewhere that looks like something that like is differentiated from the other pixels around it, it really needs to be communicating something specific. So yeah, I think we're gonna get our texturing from like post-processing. And yeah, it's been really cool watching old sci-fi. Like I watched 2001 on Saturday and I watched Logan's Run on Sunday, and that kind of sci-fi is perfect because it's blocky. It's all about silhouettes. It's all about big solid blocks of color. It's really nice. It's like Mobius, but without the detailed line work. Vigivini, if you were a jerk, and you are, another way is to use layering. You make a set of layers with your edges, fill, etc. Then you use a loop over the sets of lists to get every combo output flattened into a PNG encode. That's brute force. No, I don't think you're a jerk. I think that's a real reasonable choice. And actually, we started taking steps in that direction after I rejected this like bit flags thing, which I can't even see when you encode actual bit flags in here. Like, how do you tell the difference between red 1, red 2, red 4, and red 7? All 4 of those colors are present here. So I was mapping them onto like channels so I could like see them. And then that's another intermediate step. But yeah, the layers is an interesting choice. We thought about that. So here's like lower right outline, upper right outline, upper left outline, or whatever. Lower left outline, upper left outline, lower center outline. We started thinking about this. I think this would be cool if we were doing this in a shader or whatever. And I think it will maybe eventually be cool as a way to create art pieces and then have some kind of system. I think we will do something like this for this part. Because we also have camera rotation. So when you look at an object, the square is the easiest case because it's the same, it's identical from every viewpoint. But when you start to get objects like this that have, you know, a different look from every angle, then you need to get a little more complicated with it. So I think I do want to get to a point where you could just draw these 4 objects out, provide some kind of mapping overlays to explain like what face it corresponds to, like maybe orange is X face and green is Y face, or something like that. Blue is Z face. I haven't totally sorted out how I would want to do that, but I do want to get there. I've just decided that that's a little too indulgent to do right now. It would be better to just make a batch of this art in its finished form by hand, just to see what the requirements are, have a better idea of the requirements, and then maybe we work on workflow improvements later. Holy cow, I've thought of everything. I've not thought of everything. I have had a thought about many things, but the problem is that you need to have more than one thought. You need to at least you need to revisit the issue, keep having additional thoughts about it. But I'm a little scattered. We're addressing some corner case issues right now too with our new atlas, so I just want to get this atlas out. I want to figure out the mapping. I'm I'm considering, so this is our invalid block, and I think this is going to be like the cornerstone of how we design our blocks, because this will always be included to just as like a case of you either place a block that can't exist, or like maybe you built a ship with a mod and then you tried to load the ship after reinstalling without the mod. We're just going to need something like this. So it covers a lot of great use cases. So we're kind of using it as a guinea pig for a new way of structuring the tile atlas data. Nix, I haven't forgotten your messages. I'm a little, it is a chair stream. I'm very tired. Vidya, 60s sci-fi is great. You watch Star Trek Continues, throwback AF, fan-made 4th season of TOS. Okay, I'll check that out. I saw on YouTube someone made like a 8th season episode of Star Trek TNG, and it was like horrible AI, and I kind of wanted to like, I couldn't like look away, but it was like the most nauseating, like weird thing possible. It was horrible. Like, it was just like Geordi and Data walking down a hallway having a conversation, and like Geordi looked okay, but Data was just like, AI doesn't know how to draw data, you know? that was an experience. I don't know how often I'm gonna watch stuff like that, but that sounds cool. I do need to watch some, I do plan on watching some TOS, the animated series, like Star Trek, the animated series. That's gonna have some really great blocky, like, cartoony stuff. Star Trek Continues is fantastic, really well done, free on YouTube. Okay, I'll check it out. This is good work. Thank you, Video Vinny. Nix, you want to make the noise a toggleable attribute? There'll probably be like a slider or something, maybe. I don't know. If you select out a character, would we see like a pop-up icon plus the description of the pawn, or would it be more like Dwarf Fortress text-only description of neither and everyone is equal? I think I want to do like a RimWorld thing where there's like if you were looking at this room, you'd have like some character portraits. It's hard to show because I'm on this checkbox. This box is blue on blue, but I want to do some kind of like crew pop-ups on either the left or the top or something like that. I don't know how I want to do that, because like in FTL and RimWorld, it's like fairly easy, but in RimWorld and Void War, you get a lot of characters. And like Void War just starts to make pages of characters, so I don't know. We have to decide. I'm really a fan of the everything is visible from one screen kind of game, but this can't be that kind of game because it's just too big. Like early on when I was working on the shipbuilder, I was like, you know, I want small ships, maybe like 15 by 15 by like 6 or something like that, which would be like something like this. Like at first I thought maybe like something like this would be about the biggest ship you could ever make. And that way your ship, you know, you can see your whole ship. But we've kind of grown beyond that with some camera movement stuff, including the zoom stuff that I haven't talked about. But I think I think maybe starter ships will probably be small like this so that you can get some time and it's easier to see or to look around and stuff. But there's no real, like, there will be some kind of performance limit, but like we could easily support ships that are like, I don't know, like this big. But now you're like mousing around. And by mousing, I mean WASD. That took a while. The flood fill system was going crazy. We'd need to make some optimizations to be able to run the game at this size, but the autotiler is fine. The autotiler doesn't mind. It's really just the flood fill that starts to struggle when we get to high volume, but we've literally never made an attempt at optimizing that. So if we just multi-threaded the flood fill, if we just use like jump flood or something with like a GPU maybe, or I don't know, there's a number of things we could do, but we're going to support larger scale. So it's probably going to be slower pace than like FTL. It's probably going to be more like RimWorld. I should be doing the art thing while I'm talking about this. so I can have it be done. All right. Third attempt at copying and pasting this texture. It's okay. I'm really glad everyone's talking. Because I'm tired and pretty scatterbrained. I'll continue to complain that I worked like 16 hours yesterday between game dev and day job. It was good though. We're doing good work. I needed to make this thing. I like had to do it. It was like midnight and I was like almost done. So I'm like dotting the last little bits here and there. Oh, I need to turn on the outline to see the bits. Okay, we got some more comments. Vidya, 100 years ago when you were doing Android development, you were making a game about being captain of a ship. Each crew member had personalities and stats, but you could only find out by viewing their fleet records or by talking to them. Ooh, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool idea. Nix, will you make all of the ships, or will you have like parts of the ships that you can create and then create a code to connect the parts together, maybe with some rules? Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, you're going to be able to save prefabs when you're doing shipbuilding. So like if you like a certain utility closet or like engine room design and stuff, you'll be able to save out prefabs. But again, I don't know how much shipbuilding will happen during a run, because this is a run-based game. It's probably going to be more like decorative or cosmetic, or like upgrade your engine to reactor level 4, which might involve some shifting about of things inside the room, but I don't know. And I don't know if I'll make all the ships. If I'm lucky, I can be like Walt from Cosmeteer and like hire modders who make really good stuff. Hire like freelancers to like make more ship designs eventually. Vidya, you delegate tasks, take suggestions, deal with anomalies. Thinking of in TNG when Picard would ask everyone options and he'd choose which to go with. Cool. Are you stuck in ads, Vidya? If so, I will wait. You meant the shipbuilding message to generate enemy ships. Oh. I don't know. Yeah, I'll have to generate enemy ships. But again, maybe we can... I don't see a lot of asymmetry for the characters or the technology, really. Like, we're not gonna... I don't imagine we're gonna have these crazy alien species like in FTL. So a lot of the differences between ships and characters is gonna really be personality based. So I think we're also gonna do a lot of stuff around personality, kind of like RimWorld. Maybe a little more lightweight, but I do want stuff like that. Ads? Okay, yeah. I'll give it a minute, Vidya. I will confirm when you're back, and then we can keep talking. But yeah, I love that stuff. I love how like Worf murdered the guy who like killed his like mate. And the Klingons were like, yeah, that's normal. And Picard is like, well, there is going to be a permanent mark on your record. Because you killed this man. You murdered this guy. And like, so I love that idea of having to like refer to their records or like talking to them. That's a great idea. All right, let's copy these interior bits. Let me make sure I did this correctly first. Yes, I did. Okay. How are you doing, Vidya? You still in ads? We've been joking about Star Trek permanent records and Worf like murdering someone and then just getting a whatever they call it. They'll be like, this will be a mark in your permanent record. Or like attempted coup, mark in your permanent record. Prime directive violation. Oh, that'll be a mark in your permanent. Okay, I'm done. All right. Yeah. So you had a more kind of text or dialogue based, really cool Star Trek like TNG kind of thing going on. You were gonna do a system with self-contained stuff, systems in the ship, relationships with each other. Ideas you could make episode files to add in. They'd have conditions, cutscenes, outcomes, requirements. You only got as far as making the crew and personality generator. You can't do art. I can't do art either. This is as good as I got. This is the first time. I'm new to pixel art, but this is an art in general. But I'm enjoying this constraint that we've got going here. That's art. Yeah. I haven't gotten to work on art in like a year though. I think I made this in like August of. Oh no, this might be almost 2 years old now. This piece of art. I don't want to think about that. Let's not actually count that. So yeah, we're getting there slowly, but yeah, I want that stuff too, Vidya. We've got some cool ideas around that. I'm thinking about structuring the game kind of around the 5-year mission. I'll probably call it the 10-year mission for various reasons. So it would be like, the structure of the game would be like, you know, a commission. And it would be very episodic. I would like to, on our roadmap, we do have a scenario editor to do kind of the thing you're talking about. Like the scenario editor is big. Right now we're working on the tile block editor so that we can build the ships. Then we'll work on the shipboard simulation. And then I want to do a scenario editor so that we can have stuff like that. And that'll be cool. I have some ideas around like, maybe early on the game is just that. But maybe like while we're in like early access, it's just this kind of episodic thing. But I would love to add an ending to the game where it's like a Star Trek movie, and have it be kind of have it be kind of procedural. So like maybe you made an enemy during your time in the main game, and then there's like an epilogue where that enemy comes back like super powered, like a Wrath of Khan situation or something like that. Or something else happens, like Star Trek the Motion Picture or whatever. Like have some kind of campy genre finale with like a time jump in it or something like that. I think that would be fun. I wanna approach stuff like that in this game. Art stream win. We're doing it right now, Nix. Vidya, you like the idea of people being able to just add an adjacent text file or something that uses the system to make episodes, quote unquote, like a captain has a love interest, episode requires him or her to go on an away mission because of her skills, but ends up getting killed or something. Yeah. Like when conditions are met, they may trigger the episode. I would like to have something kind of episodic little story generator stuff in there. That maybe it's not the main focus of the mission. Like you could have A stories and B stories and C stories. Because, you know, Riker growing a beard is a very different kind of story than Data growing a beard. So it matters. The individual characters at play matter, you know? But yeah, I would like to do stuff like that. And yeah, I would like to make it moddable, which is why we were talking about the workflow for making modded art. I would like the scenario editor to be as usable as our tile editor. So like you can make ships and you can also make encounters and scenarios where like ship jumps in, captain makes threats, or, you know, maybe something have it be more nefarious as that, where like distress call, or like that turns into like an ambush, or like different sorts of things that you might see in a Star Trek episode. I want to be able to support that kind of stuff. And yeah, I am just one person, so I am focused very heavily on making systems and making it so that content generation can be supported by the community. I really want modded support. I'm really thinking about mod support from day one, you know, which is kind of how you have to think about it. Vidya, crew member gets a cat, robot learns to laugh, blue barrel of death comes after the tough guy and breaks his back. Yeah, you got it. You know all the beats. You know all the typical, all the Star Trek spec scripts. Yeah, I want to support that sort of thing. But there's obviously going to also need to be like a DS9 style, like an overarching story, like Babylon 5 or Deep Space Nine. Like there needs to be a galactic like conflict that everything is catalyzed around, like, or galvanized. I don't know what the right word is, but like there needs to be some overarching conflict that like binds it all together. Because, you know, this isn't called Digital Iliad for nothing. So the 10-year mission might as well be called, like, you know, it might as well be the war between, you know, Ilion and the Achaeans. But yeah, fun stuff. Fun stuff to think about. I haven't gotten a lot of time to work out a lot of that stuff. This is a lot headcanon kind of stuff right now, pipe dreams kind of thing. There's not a lot systematic stuff to back that up right now. We're kind of we are maybe over focused on working on our editor and our stuff around that. So I'm trying to, it's kind of why I stopped working on the art workflow. I was like, you know, we do got to just make the content at some point and we can worry about that stuff later. Yelling at everyone. Cisco was very loud when needed. Yeah. Cisco is great. In the pale moonlight, I'll watch that just whenever. I could probably watch that anytime. Like anytime someone's like, pale moonlight? Oh yeah, I'll watch that. Cisco has some of the best episodes of Star Trek ever. Easily. There's some other good ones around there too. Had to do a quick layer check. I was like, man, I hope I'm working in the right layer. But this has been fun. When I'm kind of doing some busy work like this, it's really nice to talk to people about other stuff. Whether it's the game or sci-fi or what you're working on or whatever. Because I know this isn't the most interesting thing to be streaming on. Just weird, random art stuff. But the work must be done. Quark's fear of Human's violent nature was cool too. Yeah. Quark's monologue about root beer is pretty good. To Garrick, when he like tries to sum up like the insidious nature of the Federation and humanity. And he used root beer to do it. That was really good. But yeah, that's the nice thing about Star Trek is it can be many things to different people. It can be different things in different moments depending on what the situation calls for. And I think that kind of storytelling variety is really, that's a really good fruitful, fertile ground is I guess what you would call that. You start to like it, exactly, Smooth in a second. Yeah, there's some sci-fi relationship building that like I would love to get anywhere close. Hey, Ellis Dev, Are you going to store ships separately from scenarios so a single ship can be used in multiple scenarios? And are your scenarios analogous to episodes of a TV show or full seasons? The scenarios will be like individual counters. So I think, so a scenario could be like an individual encounter, and a mission, or quote unquote, like the episodic part. An episode could loosely be multiple encounters, which is typical in Star Trek, where like ship Enterprise encounters ship doing something weird. Maybe the ship escapes and the Enterprise pursues it and encounters it later. Or maybe that ship explodes and that starts an episode where they need to go to a space station, and then they need to go to like an asteroid or a planet. So you'll string scenarios together into episodes, and eventually you'll string these episodes together into like more of a series. Like what you're thinking of with a full season. I would say a full season would be like a major milestone in the campaign. So a campaign, the idea would be like, here's the pure idea, which is that a run of this game would be like 6 seasons in a movie. That would be the ideal part. And like, obviously we need to start out small. So like our MVP is probably going to be like only 1 season. You know, they're going to be short campaigns. They might not even there aren't even going to be campaigns actually in the MVP for this game. And then maybe when we come out with the beta, maybe we got 4 seasons of the show or something like that, quote unquote, the show. You know, and then we'll just keep adding on to that. And eventually when we go gold or like full release, maybe we got our 6 seasons in a movie, you know, worth of content. And then with mods, people can tell their own stories, hopefully. As far as storing ships separately, yeah, ships will have to be stored separately from scenarios. And I would like the scenarios to either, you could do the scenarios a number of different ways. You could be specific, or like maybe you don't have to be specific, because maybe the scenario just calls for like pirate here, insert pirate of certain power level here or something like that, and the game just picks a pirate ship. Like, or maybe it is very specific of like, you encounter this ship with this crew in this state. And that would be for like, let's say you answer a distress call. Like, you need to be very specific about what the ship is, what state it's in. So I don't know. I think it's going to be mixed. I think sometimes you'll like, maybe, I don't want you to always have to over-determine. I don't want you to have to over-determine at all. I'm also thinking about that in terms of the tile atlases here. We need to build them out in such a way that like the simple cases don't also need to handle, like, we need to not have a one size fits all. So like a simple case should be able to ignore all the concerns of an advanced case, and the system should be able to interpret it just fine. So I think I'm going to try to take that approach everywhere I can. I don't think that has anything to do with your question. That was just something I was thinking of. But how are you doing, Ellis? Happy Wednesday. How's your week going so far? Vidya, best part is when Cisco goes to Worf and says, hey, you got any of those poison torpedoes? I want to poison the whole planet, and we need those poison torpedoes. Yeah. You'd think Worf would have been more on board with that. He always wants to blow up stuff. I guess he's not quite as like aggressive as Shax, but he's pretty good. Lieutenant Shax. Oh, I missed one. All right. Almost done with this one. You're doing swell. You've been tooling around with GPT-5. Spoiler alert, it's not great. That's what I've been hearing. I had a friend talking to me last night also as well about kind of having their having their lost illusion about Claude for rock coding. They were like, man, Claude is not as good as I thought it would be. I don't know specifically. LSDev, for something that's as hyped up as it is, 5 is not as much of a qualitative improvement over 4 as you would have expected. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. And people seem to get really obsessed with the quirks of the model. So it's not just about the qualitative improvement, but the model, it behaves differently. People are describing it as like more business and maybe like less unhinged or maybe personable, depending on your use case. And so it's really interesting how people are already kind of getting obsessed with like the personalities associated with these models. Very strange. But yeah, I don't mess around with that stuff very much. My 2 uses of AI are like kind of just incidental, which is like JetBrains has like its autocomplete AI, and then if you just, you know, search anything in Google, you get Gemini telling you what's up. Which has actually been more useful for like search than I thought it would have been. It does a good job of like mooshing together all the things that I want to then go look up. It usually confuses itself and, you know, says the wrong thing to some extent. But it's usually good. It usually does a good job of surfacing the articles I want to then go read. Vidya, every single quote-unquote AI, LLM, is not AI, yeah. Every single one will fail doing multiplication of 2 numbers with 4 digits and 4 decimal places. If they don't use an external tool, they'll all be wrong. Okay, because that's like precision. You can't just statistically answer that. That's funny. But yeah, that's the problem of getting a statistically approximate answer to things. Hey, Matthew Sparks, how's it going? Happy Wednesday. Matthew, you've been using it to look up how to code certain small work projects and environments or with languages you're not super familiar with. Models still screw up regularly there, but it's mostly good. Yeah, it's a good. I think the only responsible use of that technology is as a starting point. You can use it to surface information that you aren't familiar with or don't know anything about. You still have to then go validate that information, or B, give you some early iterations of things, of like, give me ideas of like just generate nonsense. I mean, you got to be careful with that as well, but like, I think that's the only responsible use of these so far is like a way of providing a starting point or handling boilerplate, or like, and even with the boilerplate, you still have to verify, but I don't know. That's just me. I still don't use this stuff very much. All right, so we got the Y facing wall. Now we got to do the next thing. We got to do this part. We got to do the half block. Joy. All right, let's move that over here. Oops. You like my pragmatism, re-AI? That's great. I'm sorry, I'm not being ironic or sarcastic or anything. I think people are a little too enthusiastic. And they're a little too trusting about its capabilities. Yeah, Matthew is saying the same thing. The hype for these things is unreal. You know, it feels like a bubble that has to pop at some point. Yeah, well, I'm glad I don't have any investments in that stuff. LS, you saw the Joe Rogan clip where he gets all religious about it and compares it to AI to Jesus because it was born without a father. I was not aware of that. Yeah. I was reading some interesting stuff that was talking about how how the language that people use, and by people I mean like Sam Altman and like, you know, people that matter in the field. The language people use to talk about, and also people just adjacent to it. The language we use to describe AI has this kind of moral, like transhumanist bent to it, and it has roots in like the Enlightenment. It has roots in this history, in this like history of thinking and philosophy that describes, you know, humanity as this as not the end in of itself, but as this like barrier, or this, it's this thing to overcome, which like to some extent is true, but the problem is like the Enlightenment style thinking treats the destination as something beyond human, right? And that's actually becoming scarily realistic, you know, in the medium term future, for stuff like that to actually start happening. And it's one of those things that like you have to think about your engagement with that and what that means, because to an extent we're all like culpable in a case like that. All right, now I got to split this grid again. At least this one's gonna be shorter. Vidya, what people call AI today is just an LLM exercising the Chinese room experiment. No reasoning, no thought, just lookups and statistics. Yeah, it's scary like that. It's been a while since I've read the Chinese room, but that used to just be a fun thought experiment. Now it's very real. Matthew, that's a pretty on point description of how they speak. Got a link to an article or something for that? Yeah, I might. Let me look. Because I did read it. It was an article I read. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see if I can get a link. This is pretty old. There's actually a surprising amount of literature connecting AI to Enlightenment ideas and values. This is maybe something you could just look up and find some interesting work on it. But the thing about the article I was reading was it wasn't about drinking the Kool-Aid. It was about acknowledging the like anti-human bent that's at the heart of some of that thinking. The like fundamentally hostile to human life kind of like transhumanism that's in there, where progress itself is an end, regardless of, you know, the outcomes. And it describes a kind of inevitability, because that's what everyone always talks about this. They're always like, it's inevitable that we do this. And it's like, it's not inevitable. It's not any more inevitable than like the Cold War. Just because you have the technology doesn't mean you have to use it, right? Like, and by the Cold War, I mean like the threat of like nuclear annihilation. It's like the threat will always be there, but it's like people describe this kind of anti-human march towards some kind of singularity as being inevitable. And it's like, it's neither inevitable nor is it guaranteed, but it's crazy. Crazy time to be alive. Sorry, everyone has really interesting thoughts about this. But I'm unable to follow up on every single comment. Oh, nice. You have your significant others involved in philosophy academically. Yeah. I bet they'd be a lot more able to direct you towards some of that stuff. But I think it's an interesting point of comparison. Yeah, I think John Searle did some stuff about that too, the Chinese room stuff. They're local for me. They're in like Berkeley, so I've heard them talk before. All right, how many of these do I need? Oh, not a lot. Okay, that's interesting. So this is actually going to be much simpler in terms of its X distance. Hold on a second. What am I doing? Oh, I'm a fool. But no worries about interrupting the work, Matthew. This is a very this is a very low key stream today. I'm very tired. We're kind of just working, doing some mindless artwork. So it's nice to have a kind of more nebulous discussion topic that we can kind of dig into and think about. You didn't think John Searle was still alive? Yeah. No, John Searle is super cool. I lived in Berkeley for a little while, and I would sneak onto the campus and like listen to his lectures because I was of college age, so like it didn't seem unusual. But I'm not very academically gifted, so I didn't get to go to, UC Berkeley. But he's really cool, and yeah, I liked hearing him talk. And yeah, he was famous back during like the civil rights era. Like he was already teaching there in like the mid 60s. And he's like still cooking somehow. Hey, Diginanigans. Yeah, we're active. We're active. LS Deb, you have 4 edges that can be filled in, which is 16 possible combinations. After that, empty corners can be filled in, so that's another 16. You need less than 32 tiles. It's a little crazy, LS. You can take a look at this and let me know what you think about it. I'll use the solid color just so that we can actually see what we're talking about, and I'll turn the grid off. So we've arrived at this, which is there's actually 6 edges because there's an upper right and a lower right for the full walls. So yeah, for this one, it's pretty small because we just have sides and corners. But we're in a crazy situation for here. So this is like I've mapped this. This is the sparse map that the autotiler would index into for a wall that follows our dots, our corner dots system. So we have corner dots because we need them. And it leads to 169 unique tiles. So I've removed non-unique tiles. And now I'm just handling the simpler case of the small piece. The half wall, quote unquote half wall. So yeah, this should be easy by comparison. But yeah, we're doing some crazy stuff here. But it helps answer a problem for us, which is the no dots versus dots issue of how to do the tile for the corners. Which if we don't include these dots, we have these missing outlines in some cases. So we've added these corner dots. I think you accounted for all of this because you were mentioning the corners can be filled in. Bye. No worries, Nix. Thanks. Yeah, get some rest. I'm also tired. Oh, thank you for the follow, Video Vinny. Yeah, this has been nice. This has been a nice conversation. Um, what kind of stuff are you doing nowadays? You talked to me about your Star Trek style project, which seemed very spiritually in line with what we're doing here. I'd be interested in what kind of stuff you're doing, or what anyone's doing right now. Diginanigans, how's Compositor World art stuff going? No worries if you haven't had time. I'm not trying to call anyone out who is you know, busy doing like life stuff and doesn't have time for game dev. I just want to encourage people to share. Some people feel like their work isn't worth sharing, and that is not true. Or they feel like they need something. There's some threshold under which you shouldn't share. It's interesting just to hear what people are working on. All right, so how do I want to order this? The way I'm doing it here is I have top, then no corner, no corner. Okay, so we're going to do it like this. So we'll do this one down here. So this will go away because it's not unique, as will this. And these will have their corner pieces scrubbed here. We do it again. Same thing, not unique. And then this will have this corner piece scrubbed and this corner piece. And one more time. And I think we delete everything except this. There we go. And that's one thing. Oh, dang. There we go. Just so I have a version of this that's easier to see the outlines. Vidya, you're learning from others. You're going to get back into stream stuff later this month. Oh, nice. Offering unsolicited bad advice on here and there. Being an obnoxious armchair game dev enthusiast. Oh, for sure. Cool. You got any game jams or anything coming up? Let me hit you with that follow. For when you start streaming again. Oh, you can't do art. So you just do like programming stuff? Diginanigans, you haven't had a chance since the weekend. We'll probably work on it some more this weekend. Okay, nice. From what you hear, the compositor method may not quite work as well as you wanted due to the precision of the depth maps, but you're still going to give it a try and see how it fares. Yeah, I haven't seen a problem that you can't ultimately solve with just a few extra depth maps. I understand that that's kind of a shortcut one can take. And if you're okay with the visual trade-offs with the pixel alignment, not you'll go back to your old method with the proper knowledge of how to not render too many things so that the convoluted way you were approaching it before. That coming back to where you started and knowing it for the first time, that is the essence of exploration. Too much of an amateur? No such thing. We're 100% amateur here. I do no particular thing well. Jack of all trades. Master of none. All right, let's keep going. We're doing good on time. You do system admin stuff over your 20 years of experience with stuff. Your approach with code systems is you absolutely hate to repeat your work anywhere. You have to do it more than once to make a system for it. Nice. Yeah, that is a nice way to approach it. Yeah, once I do something twice, I get a little uncomfortable, and as soon as I have to do it 3 times, I'm like, why haven't I automated this already? But that's a hard conflict in game development, because there's a lot of stuff in game development that's kind of tedious and repetitive, but it's like sometimes it still makes sense to just do the work, but it hurts. All right, so there's that. And then we need the last tail, which is going to be a lot. Oh, I need to actually destroy the dots first. Wait. That was the wrong one. There we go. This is where it starts to get a little tedious. Oops. This is where this gets a little abstract, like looking at a modernist painting and being like, what is this again? Diginatians, you have a bad habit of taking twice as long to automate something than it would have if you just did it manually. Yeah. Yeah, my boss has been good at getting me out of that habit to an extent. If I truly only need to do something, you know, a limited amount of times, sometimes it's better to just do it. Then you at least have the peace of mind that if something needs to change, you can tweak the logic and rerun it instead of having to manually go and update each thing. Yeah, yeah. That's why I'm very particular when I like get a new report or something. Like I'm like, is this a one-off? Because if this is a one-off, I've got a very different approach to how we're doing this. If this is a regular thing, and yeah, you get punished sometimes. All right. Yeah. Vidya. Do you ever use a Unix-like system, Linux, BSD, etc.? Ever encounter the RC init system? No, I have not. I'm shockingly uncool when it comes to like computers. I've only got Windows machines. That's the problem with doing game dev. People are like, well, why don't you just use Mac or Linux or something? And it's like, well, at the end of the day, everything I do is intrinsically and inexorably linked with Microsoft. All right, I think I have enough. Oh, yeah, I think I have enough of a hang on this. The heck is this? Whoa, 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 whoa. Wait, why didn't this make it over here? Oh, because that's the wrong layer. It's a little suspicious. Wait. Oh, I'm an idiot. Hold on. I'm not doing the upper section. I just did the upper section. I'm doing the lower section. Matthew, you switched to Linux last year as you got into programming, but now a year into it, as you got into game dev for fun, you started pulling back towards Windows after totally switching. It's awful. Yeah, I bet it's even harder to go back. Now that you've seen the other side, now that you've left the cave, going back in the cave is hard. Hey, Silas. How's it going? What's up? How's terminal life? Sorry, that came out wrong. How's life working on your terminal? All life is terminal. Vidya, FreeBSD has RC init scripts that are put in order using a tool called RC order. Figures out what order the script should run based on defined values in scripts, saying things like NTP service requires networking before it can run. When it's running, it provides MPT for other services to use. I see. No, that's a very solid architecture. Sounds like. We have a very systems-oriented code architecture. I actually kind of don't like, for a big game like this, I really don't like doing everything in the scene tree. I don't like having these big scene trees with lots of stuff in them. So we've actually spun our simulation layer off to like an entity component system that, don't laugh, it runs in C# just because that's a very easy language to hook up to Godot. and I'm familiar with it. But yeah, we have a very systems heavy implementation. Like we have tool system, fill system, tile system. Like we systematize as much as we can. I prefer thinking of things this way. It's a little harder to do certain things with like an ECS style composition, but I like it. I like the modularity. I like a lot of things about it. LSDev, you cannot tolerate coding in Windows anymore. The hoops you have to jump through simply to get C code running is enormous. The point where that when you got into compiled languages, you just turned WSL into your development environment. Oh. Yeah, I don't do a lot of low-level programming. If someone asks me to get like scons set up, I'm already like, oh, okay. This is gonna be tough. All right, so I think I understand what we're doing here. We already did the top part, now we're doing the bottom part. So, wipe this off. Vidya, you've been smashing your head on a system for in-game AI that does the same thing, i.e. hunger requires food. Food is provided by, say, apples. To get apples, the MPS requires eyes and hands, which provides sight and manipulation. The AI should just work when blah Godot scripts are present. That's really cool. That sounds like Dave Mark's utility AI, which is like the only AI I use, because it's like what you're saying. It kind of just works if you set up the utility stuff correctly. Like if you handle the separation of concerns correctly, it kind of just happens. It's pretty cool when it works. When it doesn't work, it's very hard to understand why. Matthew, you've seen ECS systems in Lua, Go, virtually every language. It's not surprising to have an ECS in C#. It's a little unusual because C# is a managed language. It's not like the most natural environment to do the kind of data-oriented, like very like hardware and memory-aware stuff that people like want to do when they're talking about doing stuff in an ECS. So it's kind of just, it adds these weird layers to it that overcomplicates it, I think. Right? Yeah, okay, never mind. Your next line, you're like, writing ECS in a garbage collection language seems to be not a big deal at this point. It's not. It's not a big deal. It's certainly not optimal, but yeah. Unity does it. Unity's entity component system, their .ccs, that uses high performance C#. I mean, it's all really IL to CPP under the hood, but it's where I learned it's where I got my taste for ECS. So to me, the two languages are kind of intertwined. All right, I'm gonna actually continue working through this art somehow. So this is what I don't understand. Why is this missing from here? Oh, it's here. I see, I see. So this one is actually gone. So we don't need this one here. And then what we do, get rid of that, 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 and that. And then we've just got one more of these, I think. The lower left. Oops, went too far. Utility AI? Yeah. Dave Mark. Utility AI. There's some videos about it, but he also has a website. I think you'd like this stuff. Here's their website. I'll drop it in YouTube in case people are curious. Utility AI is like a very straightforward, very good introduction to doing game AI. Very old school. Oh, I say old school. It was new when I first heard about it 20 years ago. There's probably some free videos up on the GDC Vault where Dave talks about it. He used to run, I don't know if he still does, but he used to run the AI roundtable at GDC. Matthew, the ECS behind the Bevy engine is super interesting, but every time you tried to write Rust, you just hated it, so you just admire from a distance. DIGITAL, you tried to get into Rust a couple times, too convoluted. Yeah, it's a lot. DIGITAL, you enjoyed Odin, and was originally going to make your game in that with no engine, then took a complete 180, and you're now doing it in Godot, but writing in TypeScript. Yeah, you're on a very interesting path. I'm also, if I had any kind of chops, programming chops, I would be really interested in doing stuff in Odin. Like if I knew how to program in C, I would be pretty interested in doing some stuff in Odin. Oh, I copied the wrong thing. Oh no, I didn't. So this is upper right. Or is it? Okay, so this is neither. This is upper right. Or no, this is all of the upper stuff. So this is lower right. This is lower left. Okay. Almost done. I see what we're doing here. So I can get rid of these because they're not lower left. Same with this. This is lower left. This is really hard to do without the underlying texture. And then there's going to be one more that's both. And that only affects a very small number of these things. Old Odin and Jai both seem pretty cool as far as low-level game dev languages go. Yeah. We do. Everyone comes back to Godot, though. on some level. Even if you don't engage with all of it, it's just so good and such a flexible language. At the end of the day, Diginanigans, you were able to do in 2 days what took you over 2 weeks to do in Odin, simply because you've been working with TSJS for well over a decade. Yeah, that's a huge factor. I was tempted to make my game or make my ECS and stuff in C++, but I was like, I don't want to make this the Dave Learned C++ project, because you know how that's going to end up. It's going to end up shelved, or it's going to end up rewritten from scratch in another language eventually. Yeah. There's so many things to optimize for. Knowing where the gains are that matter is like a large part of the battle, right? And optimizing for your own speed and comfort can be pretty major on a long project, at least. All right, so let's get the textures in here now. We can do a solid one first. Oop. Oop. Man, time has been not flying by. I don't mean that in a bad way. It just means like I feel like I've lost track of time here, but I keep looking at the clock thinking like we've already been doing this for like 3 hours, and it's like we haven't even hit the 2-hour mark yet. It's really great. This has been really engaging. Well, for me, hopefully it's I know what I'm working on is really stupid to look at, but hopefully this has still been a nice time for everyone. I'm not self-conscious, you're self-conscious. All right, now we can make sense of our crazy little outline thing we're making here. Which again, this is the sparse representation. This represents the indexing that the autotiler will do as it follows down towards only the unique combinations of outline. I've destroyed all of the non-unique ones because I don't want them. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a connection between this sparse map to a dense map. Or I guess that's the map. The map is gonna be how do you get from the sparse coordinate system that the autotiler uses here onto the dense coordinate system that the tile map is gonna use, the tile map atlas. Map is too ubiquitous a word. I don't even think I used ubiquitous correctly there, but maybe I did. Hopefully. Ubiquitous is too ubiquitous a word. Just double down. Diginanigans, if you're not making a super demanding AAA game the way you see it until there's a measurable performance impact, you're going to use what you're most comfortable with and productive with. I think that's good. And if you needed to write specific modules in another language, there is a bottleneck. Yeah. Yeah, there's a difference between... Matthew, this would have been a very different stream vibe if we'd watched me struggle through an ECS and C++. Yeah, it would have been. It would have been not good. Because that's the thing, is like my ECS is not optimized, but what it is optimizable. And that's the cool thing I like about having it. That's where architecture comes in, right? Where it's like, yeah, don't worry about it if it's not a performance problem, but you can still make architectural choices that are like, that will, hopefully you won't regret down the road. Because it's a lot easier to optimize. In my mind, it's a lot easier to optimize an ECS than it would be to like handle the crazy web of references if I had just used, you know, objects and classes and everything to represent my you know, simulation entities. Would have been crazy. Godot might have struggled a little. Matthew, you're glad I didn't end up doing that for my own sake. That certainly would have been interesting to watch someone figure it out. It would have been interesting. The shenanigans, you enjoy my streams enough that you're on them nearly every non-weekend day. That's all I need is one person who's like, yeah, this is aight. But I'm always open to feedback if there's other stuff we want to do. If there's any improvements I can make to the stream, get in that Discord and tell me. Links on the channel pages. All right, we're heading into ads for the Twitchers. But we're still going strong here. Don't worry, you won't miss anything. But if you want to make sure you don't miss anything, you know, spend those Prime subs. I'm sorry, I'm done plugging. What the heck is this doing here? Is this a unique tile? Oh, I guess it is. No. You're right here. I might have made a mistake here. Or maybe I just didn't finish this section. Oh yeah, I haven't finished this section. Yeah, absolutely. You think there's a large, almost cult-like misunderstanding of not doing premature optimization? I mean, it's the root of all evil for a reason, right? But that doesn't mean not to take performance into consideration in the first place. It's a balancing act, right? It's tough. It's definitely a balancing act. It's like you have to both not sweat it and also make good choices. There's a kind of a conflict there. All right, so that's it for the half blocks, which is nice. The complexity definitely seems to be a lot lower than the other one. Do a quick scan for uniqueness here. It looks like I don't have any non-unique tiles, but it's kind of hard to tell sometimes when they're just little dots. But I trust the process. I trust past Dave in the way... I guess I actually can't trust past Dave for this because I just did this today. This is my fault if it's wrong. But I followed the schematic that past Dave set up for me last night, sleep deprived and confused. All right, let's get the actual textures in here. Correct the coloring first. Shenanigans. Yes, it is very helpful to be able to measure gains and make sure you're spending your time well in the first place, but it is a heck of a lot harder to refactor architectural decisions retroactively. Yeah, so that's the fundamental tension, right? It's like don't worry about optimization until you have a measurable performance issue. That's A. And then B is make good architectural choices so that you can optimize when you need to. And it's those there's a slight pull between those two things. But it's still reconcilable. It just requires judgment calls, and that's where like experience comes into play. And some chance too. All right, so we're gonna get the actual texture in here now. We had the little flat texture just for my eyes, for the sake of my eyeballs. This is gonna be cool though when this is done. Our auto tiler will actually be consistent. And this will be the basis. We can reuse this for any square block. And this architecture is unique, or this arrangement is consistent. This is just how the mapping is probably going to work for any regular block. We'll need to try it with like something experimental. Why did I close the experimental? We'll have to try it with stuff like this block. And we'll have to think about cases of like this where you have like a mirror form. We'll have to think about some different things about what we can do. But I think for the initial simple case of the square, of the cube, this is going to be great. And then later on, we'll work on workflow stuff that we talked about earlier, like trying to figure out how to map these so that this process of building this out can be automated to an extent. And that's probably where we might use some weird things like specifying the outlines by layer like this, where you can describe the outlines, or using flags like this, or maybe even using slices. I'm also tempted to use slices. This started out as me thinking about how to use slices, or this file started out as me thinking about how to use slices to solve this problem. Because slices are cool and they can represent like a 2D area and include metadata. Because layers, I don't think a layer will really be able to tell you where in the tile atlas that layer is if it's being like rendered out as a sprite sheet. But I mean, you could obviously include that in the metadata with the layers, but a slice like has that information built in, so I'm kind of tempted to try that at some point. You know, it's always going to be kind of weird to me that I got into streaming, because I can spend like the whole day and not talk to anybody. I can go the entire day and not have a conversation with anyone sometimes. Weird that I chose to spend, you know, hours online every day where I just have to be able to talk about something, about anything. It's been an experience. It helps that y'all are here and, you know, provide something to talk about. So I think if I was truly just doing this with no feedback, without chat, it would be pretty tough. So appreciate you spending your time here. You know, it's exciting. After we do this one, we can do the floors. We're almost done, though. It's going to be really nice to hook this up. All right, one more, I think. I think this is the last one. Weird that that's the last one. Actually, no, it's not. That's not weird at all. All right, that's it. Let's count this up. We're just going to do it with a calculator because I'm not going to be able to remember this. Thanks for the sweet shades, Diginanigans. We got some new stuff coming to the YouTube channel soon. I don't mean like content, like I'm still not making edited content. We just go live. But I qualified for partner for like the lowest tier of partner, which is just we're going to get access to memberships and super chats and stuff like that. I need to sign up for it, and then I need to get like reviewed to make sure my content is, monetizable. Which I don't know. I'm pretty negative about AI. I don't know if they can monetize anyone who trash talks AI in this economy. All right, so is this a consistent shape? Yeah, this is. This is just 9. Anytime I see this 4x4 arrangement, it's 9 here. I can do that 3 times. So we got 9 times 3 plus 4. And then down here, it starts to get a little different. So here we've got 6. And then here we've got another 10. All right, we got 47. That's not quite as clean as the other one. 47 does not form a perfect square grid, which it doesn't have to. Factors that can be integral, factors that can be multiplied to make 47. Forty-seven does not have is not. Oh no, 47 is a prime number. All right, so it won't. All right, well that's fine. It's gonna be whatever. We'll still arrange it as densely as possible. We'll probably just have a 7x7 grid with 2 pieces missing, or something like that. We'll see. We'll have to see. How we want to make the dense mapping of that. Oh, I forgot. We got to do the opposite side now before we can actually move onto the floor. I really love using the grid to speed up this work. Forget about it sometimes. I'm like trying to manually like select a grid space and I'm like, why aren't I not just double clicking? Oh, I don't know what I did, but it was bad. Oh, I did it again. I don't know what that is that I keep doing there, and I don't know where I left off. Right there, okay. All right, now we need the other texture. We need this one. Correct the colors here. Fill in with the actual tiles. This is going to be a lot of textures of surprising size. But still, 1024 by 1024 is not significant. It'll be fine. Also, we'll probably be able to pack this down quite a bit. We'll see how much, but probably quite a bit. That's another thing that I consider almost always premature optimization, like texture packing for pixel art. Like, is that going to matter? And if it does matter, is it going to matter now? The answer is usually no. So one thing we have to figure out is like how much metadata do we want to send over with a file like this? Or not, maybe not this file, but you know, the actual file that's going to be used for the tile atlas. It's like, do we imply the structure and just kind of use a consistent? Is it simple enough to just specify whether, like, are there just going to be a couple different kinds of classes of tile atlas? Like you just say, oh, you're identical from every view, so you're not going to have this extra data. Do we want to make a cube block have to declare that, or do we want to assume that and then have another block that's like this one, that's like the multi, that's like unique per rotation based on the perspective? It should be opt-in, right? Not opt-out. So a cube shouldn't have to say, hey, I look the same from every direction. It should be up to a more advanced tile atlas to say, hey, you need to consider the fact that I actually have views for either 2 or 4 of these, depending on how we decide to handle mirrors. Where am I supposed to be? Here. Okay. Oh, I missed one. I missed the blank one. Most important one. The middle tile. Oh, Lord. All right. Half bulks are done. Or at least the X and Y faces. I realize I haven't done the Z faces for either of these. But the Z faces are going to be pretty similar. They're actually going to be shared, I think. I really hope they're going to be shared. Yeah, that should be fine. All right, floor time. Silas, that looks like a fractal zoomed out. Yeah, someone when they saw just the left part, someone was like, "That's a Sierpinski triangle," and I'm like, "Yeah, I guess it kind of is." And yeah, you're saying the same thing. It's kind of funny. I wonder if there's some predictable structure at work here. There probably is, but we're not going to math it out, so. Math is for chumps. We just brute force everything here. I don't know why I took such an aggressive stance towards math just then. It's definitely not my favorite subject. It was something I never really had any interest in unless I needed it. Except for maybe the overlap with philosophy. Whenever math overlapped with philosophy, I was always pretty interested. Oh yeah, we should say what the count is here. Oh, I don't actually have the numbers for this. We have to go get the numbers. I'm showing you behind the curtain a little bit here. We need a 4. I guess it doesn't matter where this is. We need a 7. There's no regular grid that holds that. Chris, check your Discord DMs. You sent me the layout that Optifine Connected Textures uses. Oh, okay, let me check it out. Matthew, most subjects get super interesting once they start overlapping with philosophy, in your opinion. Your undergrad is in behavioral neuroscience, and it gets fascinating under that lens. Yeah. You can study almost anything under the lens of behavioral neuroscience. You can study your study of studying under the lens of behavioral neuroscience. Silas, you think a lot of people have that feeling? For you, it feels like having to live up to expectations instead of just enjoying it and not having been provided the tooling to understand it. Yeah. I forgot who it was, but I think it was Yarnold or whatever in the Discord. I think that's Arneo here on Twitch. They were talking about, I think that was them. I think they were like a substitute teacher, and they were talking about how hard they have a time getting their kids to, they're like the kids they teach to like use pen and paper because they feel the pressure to like keep everything in their head until they solve the problem. Because that's the cool thing. That feels cool, right? Whereas I always have an easier time understanding if I diagram it out, but that's a quality I've taken to a fault, right? With my joke that I always load up here, which is actually wrong. I actually recently realized that there's a bunch of duplicate. I actually built this incorrectly, this diagram, and I'm like, well, I'm never actually going to use this diagram. It's just a sign of how I am. I will write things down to the point where I'm spending way more work writing something down than I would just fixing it or solving it. But I love this. I want to do more of this blueprint style diagramming. It's really fun. It's neat. I haven't had a need to do it recently, but I want to do more of it. That's my unhinged. That's my like Charlie pointing toward board meme. Are there 512 of those? I don't remember, but it's the maximum. No, it must be. You can represent it with a single byte. So that means you can encode it in 1 byte. So whatever that means. That means it should be 256, right? Am I wrong? Am I crazy? I guess if you count the lower half and the upper half as 2 separate things, then it's like 512. But yeah, the combinatorics, this is block-based combinatorics, which was so crazy that that's what got me to split it up and do it per face. Because I was like, well, if we do it per face, it's a lot easier. Oh, hey, Arnio, we were just talking about you. There you are. Yeah, all the kids care about is the answer, and you got to make them care about the process and not emphasize the result. That was like trying to tutor my sister in math. She just wanted you to tell her the answer, and I'm like, I'm not telling you the answer, but I'll tell you how to get the answer, and that led to so many fights. 256, yeah. You were teaching your kids about binary numbers the other day. I love applying bit flags to everything. Like, I'm like, oh, I could represent this with a bit flag. You love the blueprint diagram, Matthew? Yeah, it's pretty cool. Oh, we're going back to Dave Mark. You thought you had no idea who he was, and then you realized you have behavioral mathematics. Oh, you have behavioral mathematics for a game. Let me look over at my bookshelf. It's got kind of a long title, but yeah, behavioral mathematics for game something programming. I don't remember. But yeah, that's a good book. Thanks for the hydrate, Nix. Yeah, I was just getting thirsty here. Talking for 3 hours straight will do that to you. All right, floor time. The floor diagram will look exactly like... Well, hold on, will it? Will it look exactly like the lower half wall diagram? I think it might, actually. Next, you're still alive, you went away, and you started actively rotting in your chair. Oh no. That's how it feels like what I'm doing, just sitting in this chair all day. I told everyone about how I injured myself dumping my coffee filter yesterday. I like pulled something in my rib, in one of my, like between my ribs, some muscle in there by just doing this really suddenly. And I'm like, oh, the sedentary lifestyle is not good for me. All right. Can we pack this in a little better? I guess we don't care at this point. I could do this by just copying this outline and shortening it, but I feel like that's incredibly error prone, so I'm just going to do this again. Yeah, I'm a little upset that the diagram I showed is wrong. It has some duplicates in it that I should have replaced. We'll see if I ever fix it. Yeah, it's funny. It is funnier than knowing that it's wrong. But that's kind of what diagramming is for me. Diagramming is about the work that goes into the work that is not the work. That's that class of thing, right? And there's a bunch of stuff in that class of thing. The work that goes into the work that is not the work. It's not the finished product, but it's labor that you have to put in to get to the finished product. And it's so tempting to just skip that, to just skip to the finished product, which is why people don't show their work and stuff. It's also probably why people have this need to use AI for this stuff. They want to be able to ask the question and get the answer. Yeah, which is why LLMs are such a lethal thing to be putting in front of children or students or anyone trying to learn anything. It's bad. I don't want to start that whole thing again, but it's just a crazy thing to think about. Silas, the hydrate made you think of a survival game idea. The player is watching a Twitch streamer and has to help them survive by earning enough channel points to help them survive. That's a hilarious, that could be a really funny like jam game or idle game. That would be a great idle game, Silas. How does this work again? I like literally can't remember how this is supposed to work. Oh yeah, right. Oh, another hydrate. All right. Right. Nyx is ready to play the idle game. That is keep the streamer hydrated. I should put a bigger timeout for the hydrate. No, that just means more bathroom breaks. Arneo, a game where you play a person who is watching a streamer that plays a game. Yeah, it is one more step removed from actually playing a game, but it's funny. Nyx with the stretch. Thank you, Nyx. I realized a while ago that my posture was really bad, but I was like, am I going to do anything about this in this moment? And I was like, nah. Oh my God. The hydrate again. Yeah, I'm going to have to go get more water soon. Really hoping we can finish at least this sparse map of the tiles here soon. Around 9 to 10 liters of water, it starts getting dangerous. Yeah, I don't think I've ever been in danger of drinking anywhere close to that much water. But yeah, I have heard stories. Don't worry, I'm not quite that much of a Muppet that I would that I would do that. That I would be susceptible to that. I'm doing this a little wrong. Move these down here. Oh, I did this. I'm butchering this. At least I'm on the right layer. At least I'm doing the wrong thing on the right layer. Yeah, there's always some kind of radio competition or whatever where someone egregiously injures themselves that way. You know, it's not going to be super great is writing out the modifications to the autotiler. It shouldn't be that bad though, because structurally, this is not fundamentally different than this old one, which I guess I can use the invalid hull to make my eyes hurt. It's not fundamentally different from this one. It's just, it's got unique tiles only. It includes the dots, but it is structured the same way. So the autotiler should be able to figure it out. We'll just need the intermediate step of going from the sparse mapping to a dense mapping. Just fine. If this is consistent across the board for everything, then this structure can even be like implied. I don't love doing that. I don't love having implied constraints for stuff, but I'd rather it be explicitly written in some kind of metadata, but then I have to process the metadata, and like, who wants to do that? It's a problem. All right, this is also where it gets hard doing this part, because at this point there's too few lines for me to intuit the structures here, but it's weird how you get used to this kind of thing eventually. Oh, wait. No. This is right. All right, so let's do this. Oops. Right, left, both. And now we copy this over and we do a bunch of stuff. Hold on, I'm getting confused again. Gotta go, no worries. Take it easy, Nix. Excuse me. All right, so how does this work? Ah, right. I feel like we're missing something here. Oh, wait. Yeah, hold on a second. Yeah, I shouldn't have deleted that. So, right. And then it's going to be left. And that's going to be both. All right. I regret the way I've done this, but it's fine. Right. I went too early. So this is done. This part's done. So then this is right. Yeah, here we go. Lower right. Remove the lower right corners from all of these. Then for this one, we remove the lower left corner from all of these. And then now we remove both lower corners from all of these. And that's the way the cookie crumbles. Now let's grab the texture. Oh, I need to fix the coloration first. Okay. Now we're cooking. I don't know why I say stuff like that. Becoming my dad. If you talk to my partner, they'd say I'm already pretty much there. Nobody laughs harder at my jokes than me. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that for nothing. We're not far off from a big 3-day game jam that we'll be doing. And I'm a little nervous since we crashed out of... I say we, since I crashed out of my last game jam. That one was 48 hours, so I'm feeling a little better about this one. Since I have 72 hours. And I already took Friday and Monday off work for it. So I'm very excited. We're down to jam, quote unquote. It's gonna be good stuff. It's happening soon. It's happening like the second weekend of September. Maybe it's the first weekend of September. It's the first weekend of September. Weekend after Labor Day. 5th through 8th. Down to jam. It's gonna be cool. Probably our one game jam this year. That we'll hopefully finish. We'll see. Maybe if there's something happen over the holidays, that might be kind of fun to do. But I'm not going to make any promises. I'm amazed I'm able to make time for one jam. But I love jamming. It really increases your confidence in your mastery of the engine. It's really incredible to see it all come together. Or not come together over a few days. All right. All right, now the annoying part. Which isn't that annoying. Just gotta use my unique keyboard setup I have here, the 90-degree keyboard option. So that I can shift H with one-handed with my left hand. Oh, I did a bad thing. You're gonna head out? No worries, Diginanigans. You're not sure you'll be around? No worries, take it easy. Ship it. Or don't. Take it easy. In the immortal words of Taj Mahal, take all the time that you need. You missed it? Which game jam is the first weekend of September? Down to Jam. Accessible at d2jam.com. d2jam.com. It's gonna be really nice. It's put together by a lot of game dev streamers that I am associates with. I wouldn't say, you know, I don't get to meet most of these people in person, but they're really good people. I'm very excited to do a jam. I'm also excited to do kind of a more low-key jam. When I saw the submission numbers for, like, GMTK, I, like, fainted. I'd be so scared. Even Ludum Dare is cool, but that's because Ludum Dare has the compo category, so people are a little more... I mean, they're competitive, but they're a little more... It's a little more understanding. There's more of a differentiation between the big teams and the single developers. And, Down to Jam has that distinction. There's like a single, call it the one dev army, but it's a single dev category. And I can only do jams that have that. I don't know if it's the competitive part of me, but that's like, I have a hard time otherwise. Man, I really hope I did these checkerboard patterns correct. It looks like I did. All right, looks like I did it correct here too. All right, we're cruising here. Almost done with the floor panels for the side here. Then we just got to do the Z-level stuff, and the Z-level stuff is easy. The Z faces, because they don't have corners, so their cases are incredibly simple. Much more so than these corner dots, which are kind of all of the complexity to do with this is kind of around that. And yeah, someday it'll be interesting to come up with a process that can generate this file from a more, I wouldn't say simplified, but from a more, from some kind of source file. I think that'd be cool. But yeah, I don't want to dedicate any resources to that right now. Actually, speaking of that, I'm going to pull that. I pulled that in yesterday, Tileset Atlas Builder. I pulled that in because it seemed like we were working on it, but I'm putting it back to on hold. We've already got enough stuff going on here. And I'd say we need at least these 3, if not 4, tasks done before we can move on. These last three, I'd say these are optional. Like an eyedropper block tool would be kind of cool. A paint bucket block replacement tool would be kind of cool. I was thinking about quote unquote face painting, which is like you can select the block, but then you can manually like pick the texture you want to use on a particular face. I think we'll do something like that some point, but that requires our raycast cursor input because we need to be able to tell which face of a block we're touching. So right now we can't do that really because our input is locked to a given Z level. But yeah, I'm kind of on the fence about an expand block palette because we could start working on the simulation without any additional blocks. But I don't really want to start building ships, quote unquote, until I have some silhouette blocks, like some of these like sloped blocks, like these ones. Because I'm not going to be able to really do anything. I'm not really going to be able to make a look unless I can do some kind of either straight line or actual curved line stuff. The curved line blocks are going to be insane. I'm not terribly looking forward to making those. I also spotted what is potentially a problem with the way I've done these. I don't want to think about it. Let's focus, Dave. Focus on the problem at hand. They don't call me Focus Dave for nothing. Nobody calls me that. It's a good nickname, though. All right. Floor piece is done. Same count. So I can actually use the... Actually, I should be clear that this is... The 47 is just for these. This is also 47. So, odd numbers so far, but that's fine. Eat your heart out, 15 tile auto tilers. I don't want a unique 15 tile auto tiler. I want 169 tiles. Hey, Skywalk, how's it going? Your project's looking good. I appreciate all the devlog updates you're giving us in the Discord. Yeah, good number. Exactly. All right. So all that's left is to define the different top faces. These like top face sections. Luckily, we only need to do 2 of them. We need to do a light one and a dark one, and we can share those between the others. Oh. Why did I do that? Kind of interesting. All right, so light one, dark one. Let's start with the light one, I guess. All things being equal here. The structure will be the same for both, so not a huge deal. Actually, I should have started with the outline, shouldn't I? Oh, there's also some positional stuff I have to think about. Not really. Not Really. Silas, it's getting late. No worries. Take it easy. You're off to bed. Oh, you're trying to work on a lightning effect skywalk? That sounds tough. But yeah, take it easy, Silas. See you later. All right, we can really pack these in. Let's change the grid size again. Oh, I gotta wrap it up. I gotta work on these later. I got a meeting in 5 minutes. I forgot. We've done good work today, though. We're almost done with this sparse mapping of the tile atlas here. And this is like a blueprint that I can use for all of them. And then we'll figure out the specifics of the sparse to dense map. And then we'll plug this in. We'll add a little interpreter thing. All right. Yeah, I gotta go. Oops. Sorry you're swinging in at the end of your skywalk. Go live quick right now so I can raid you. All right. I don't even think I can raid. I've got 3 minutes. All right. This is fun. This was actually a really good stream. This felt really fun. I know we did the most boring thing in the world, but there's good discussion, good vibes. So yeah, I want to thank you all so much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Thank you for the follow. Lecithin Emulsifier. Lectin Emulsifier. A great name. Ship it. Bye.